Good Vach. This is Rabbi Tzvi Mendel of Congregation Kahal Bnei Yisrael, Zabar of Zelazitz. And this coming week is Pashas Matis, Matis Masei. And the Heilige Avodas Yisrael, the Kosher Magid, explains that the 21 days of the 3 weeks between the 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av refer to or are connected to the 21 days, 22 days that they traveled, as we have in this week's Parsha, before they came to Eretz Yisrael. And so he says that though the time is a time that one must feel the loss of the temple, still in all, that should not hold one back from worshiping Hashem with unbelievable simcha, with a great joy, not even taking away an iota. In fact, he gives a parable. He says that a king that had many different instruments playing for him all day and all night to keep him joyous. So when he was in a good mood, it wasn't so important that he should have those instruments playing in front of him. But when he was feeling bad or feeling down or depressed, he had that much more amounts of people, or the quality of the music was so much more, so that to keep the king in a good mood. So to say, since the temple was destroyed, at least on the outside, there is this thing about feeling the missing of the temple, and how much more Yid on the inside both has to strengthen himself and not fall in his worship of Hashem, but rather to have the gewaltige, unbelievable emunah shlema that Menachem is going to be born, like Chazal say, Mashiach is going to be born. Gemara says, each one of the Tanoim said, what's the name of Mashiach? Menachem said, Menachem is his name. Yinon said, Yinon is his name. And the Rechaim HaKadosh, the Holy Rechaim, said, Chaim is his name. And the Chassidish Sfarim explained that it means that each tzaddik understood what he has to do to fix for Mashiach to come. And in a person's name lies what he has to do, his whole life's work for Hashem. And so Menachem said, as far as I'm concerned, Mashiach could come. He fixed whatever has to be done. And the Heilige Rechaim said that Rechaim was a tzaddik gama, as it says in Chassidish Sfarim. So he said that all the Tanaim's names are included in him, in his Heilige Neshama, and Mashiach can come right away. So as far as Hashem's concerned, as far as the Tzaddikim's concerned, Mashiach could come already. We have a lot of work to be done, and that should give us so much more joy that Hashem has a so-called patience for us, and we should use it out in the right way. So we will start right away, as we do every year, with the Shar HaTshuva of the Chovos HaLevavos, duties of the heart. Very bekitza, very in short. There's someone that did a short version of it, and the introduction to the Shar HaTshuva, how does one do tshuva? It's a very practical sefer and kitzer of it, and it goes as follows. After the Chovos HaLevavos explains that one must be humble. One must be humble. Achna means to be humble. Humble is not even a good word. One has to lower themselves to certain values. You know, I'm humble. Humble to what? Humble to the next piece of candy I'm going to eat. Humble to the next trip I have to California, to Disneyland. And because I can't do it, so I'm so humble because I feel poor. Humble because I'm not living up to my neighbor's home decorations. That's not what's called humble. That's not the humble that we're looking for. Humble means humble to Hashem and feeling short of what we should be doing for Him. And at the same time, feeling so joyous that Hashem chose us as His children. And me personally, every Yid is Hashem's only child, the Baal Shem Tov says. So it's a very special time of the year that we, the special people, and I, and you, and every one of us, feels the warmth and the beauty of the 3 weeks, which it says in Ma'aber Shamish that these 3 weeks and these 3 Shabbosim will be like the 3 main holidays that we have, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. And in today's reading in Pinchas, we read all about the holidays, because specifically in this time, Hashem wants us to remember that there'll be at a day when we'll be bringing the sacrifices in the temple, the Kabbanis in the Beis HaMikdash, which is what is mentioned at the end of the Parsha. Okay. So after speaking about being humble, we'll explain how one does tshuva, how one comes back to Hashem. And this is so because the first thing about tshuva is the foundation and the beginning of tshuva is feeling humble and feeling that we're missing something. And he goes on to say that the nature of a human being is that he has many different parts to him. A person that at one time, every second, is doing many different things at once, and also at different times of our life, we're different people. As it says in the beginning of the Torah, Bereshis Gimel Chaf Aleph, Ki Yetzer Lev Ha'adam Ra'amanorav. Hashem created the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, which is a natural knack to do bad in the human being. Therefore, since we have this natural knack to do bad, and since we are so many different people at so many different times, and maybe even at the same time, Hashem, our Creator, had mercy on us because He loves us. What does it mean Hashem loves us? So in the blessing before Shema that we say every morning in the morning service in Shachris, we say Chemla Gedola, a great love Hashem has for us. How does the word Chemla differ from Ava, love, or other definitions of love? So the Malbim in Yael Yud says an unbelievable, beautiful thing. He says Chemla means when you have mercy on someone and you're still not looking down at the person. A poor guy comes with ripped clothes and you give him $1, so you have mercy on him, you think, Nebuch, the poor schlepper. That's not how Hashem looks at us. Hashem loves us so much and considers us some worth it for Him to love us, and looks at us as His special people. Every one of us is Hashem's special child. And He knows and expects and looks forward towards us growing towards Him. Very beautiful interpretation. So He mercies us and He loves us, and He gives us the potential to fix everything we did bad. Everything. A person has to believe that, or else don't even start doing tshuva. First, work on your emunah, faith in Hashem, and faith in yourself. As a Jew, you have an Hashem, and you can fix everything you did bad. And He wants us to do this as immediate as possible, not to put it off. He wants us to do it bizrizas, as it says in Yecheskel 33, that when the evil person returns from his evil, and he does the correct thing and charity even more than correct, then he will live. Hashem's happy to give us life, physical life, the emotional life, spiritual life. So important, the emotional stability of a Jew. Not only that, but even most of the tzaddikim, the great righteous people themselves are balei tshuva. They're also always repenting. As it says in Koheles 7:20, that person, there's no such thing as a righteous person on earth that does only good and doesn't sin. And since the tshuva is something that everyone must do, obviously, for these reasons, therefore, the holy sages of the Talmud put together Shemona Esrei, the morning Amidah that we say 3 times a day, 2 blessings, 2 brachas. Hashemenu Avinu Sacha. We beg you, Father, our Father, bring us close to your Torah and forgive us for our sins. So the Chavis Havavos, in the long version, in the regular version of the Heilig Chavis Havavos, he says that most tzaddikim have to do tshuva because they sin. But there's a miyat, there's a minority that don't sin, that never sinned, in every generation. And we know that all the Chassidish Sfarim, including the Talmud, the student of the Baal Shem Tov, taught us that the Heilige Baal Shem Tov never sinned. In fact, his soul escaped before Eve sinned, Adam and Eve sinned, the first sin. Unbelievable thing. What a great thing. What does that teach us? It teaches how much we have to have emunas tzaddikim and follow the right Heilige tzaddikim, the ones that are true and real and holy in every aspect of life. Davening and learning and mitzvahs, b'simcha, navis Yisrael, abbas HaTorah, navis Hashem. And just for that, I'll tell you the story since we started with Avodas Yisrael, the Kajin Samagid, a beautiful story that my grandchildren reminded me today that we said a long time ago. The Heilig Kajin Samagid, what is a chassid? What is a chassid? We all know the 3 loves of the Baal Shem Tov, love of a fellow Jew, ourselves also, right? That's what we said. The emotional stability, the love that we have to feel from Hashem, who we are just the way we are, and grow from that. So, loving Jewish people, loving the Torah, and loving Hashem, the Creator. So it goes as follows, and we'll end with this. There was a boy by the name of Yecheskel, shouldn't happen to any human being. He was an orphan from his father when he was very young, and his mother loved him very much. She was the widow in the city of the Kazhinitz Magid, in the Kazhinitz, Poland, and everybody knew that she was a very special person. She was always davening for her child, and she was helping other poor people. And as it was the way those days in Poland and in Russia, the cursed government, anti-Semites, would pick up Jewish children off the street. They would run through any city at any time without even warning before, and pick up Jewish children and throw them on a wagon and go as fast as possible so they can't jump off. And they take them to the army, and the army, once someone was in the army in Poland or in Russia, usually for 25 years or more, at the end the Yiddishkeit was lost. You could almost give up, God forbid, on the Yiddishkeit. So there was this boy, this Cheskela, the Masmid, they called him. He was an unbelievable, beautiful, diligent learner, and a wonderful, wonderful Chassidish boy. And the day that he was going to get married, the day of his chuppah, he was going to study. He went to the Beis Medrash 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the mikveh to go learn, and all of a sudden, a wagon drives by, and the Jews in the city would have a signal, but he didn't hear the signal. So they grabbed him and threw him to the back of the wagon, and they started going fast. Meanwhile, in a short time, the whole city found out what happened, that Cheskela the Masmid was kidnapped by the government. They immediately told his mother, woke her up. She ran straight to the Koshitz Maggid. Koshitz Maggid was sitting and studying, and he had a coffee that his Gabba brought him, and he said, don't worry about anything. He's going to be back before the coffee gets cold. She was beyond herself. She was so happy. So she went back outside, and all the people from the city, and she woke up those that might be still sleeping, and they danced to the gates of the city because the tzaddik promised them that he's going to be back before the coffee gets cold. Meanwhile, what's going on over there? Cheskel the Masman is sitting on the wagon, and he sees another Jew next to him, and all of a sudden, he doesn't know how. A man with a long white beard, obviously an angel, Elijah the prophet. We just learned about him in the Parsha last week. Comes to him and says, Cheskel the Masmid, come, I was sent down from heaven because the Koshitz Maggid said I should save you. Cheskel the Masmid looks around and he sees this other Jewish boy. He says, come, we're going to go. And Eliyahu Navi says, no, I only have permission to save you. Well, Cheskel the Masmid says, I don't go unless another Jew goes with me. And it doesn't matter to me what you were told in heaven by the Koshitz Maggid to do. You do what you got to do, but I got to do what I got to do. He's fighting with him until finally he was the one who won, and they both go towards the city. And everybody's looking, and they're so happy that they start singing and dancing, and say, oh, there's two. Is there two Cheskel? What's that all about? Till they see. And he runs with his mother to the Koshitz Maggid's house and knocks on the door. They go in, and Koshitz Maggid says, Cheskel, you're a good boy. Even though my coffee got cold, and I told your mother before that you're going to be here before it gets cold, but you did it for a good reason. And he always used to tell Chassidim that Cheskel is a real chassid. That's real chassidus. Have a great week. Kol tov.